years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a cold Monday in February. Happy President's Day, which I think I heard earlier today was once a holiday for Abraham Lincoln's birthday. I guess I haven't studied it enough to know how true that is, but that's what I got told. So anyway, welcome into the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. Let's go around the horn here. Let's start in Murfreesboro with former NFL quarterback Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, what's going on?
Not much, George. What's up?
Tell me about your daughter, because it sounds like we had more breakout for records on Saturday.
Crazy, man. She has it's amazing what. So she ended up getting the scoring record. You were there when she did that, but then the next game she got a personal best. She's always been like 29, 28, 27. She had a 30-point game the other night. So she was excited about that, and then she hit it was the most three-pointers made by a D1 woman in history of the program. She was 9 out of 10 the other night from three, which is
Good
crazy.
Lord. So hold on. Let me make sure I've got this right. That is the all-time record on the women's side for most threes made in a game.
Yes, in the D1 level. Now they made sure they said the D1 level because they were NAIA a long time ago. So I don't know if somebody had it in Division II or whatever, NAIA, and I'm not sure about that. But they said Division I. So yeah, she was hot the other night.
Wow.
Now the night before she was ice cold. She couldn't eat the ocean from the beach. But that's what I told her. I was so proud of her because I'm like, you didn't allow that last game to affect this game is what you can't do, and she didn't.
And that's hard to do.
It is hard to do. But it's easier for a dad to say that and tell her that. But it's really hard to do because I've been there, and it's a lot of times you get to trying too hard, and she's still trying too hard at the line. She had missed three free throws to begin the year, and then that game that they lost against Bellarmine, she missed 4. She'd only missed 3 the whole year. So it's a little deal that's in her head right now.
Do you get nervous watching her?
I do not. No. I mean, I told my kids a long time ago, hey, I lived out my dream. You go live out your dream. If you want to play, go play. I've already done it. I enjoyed it. If you want to do it, go do it. And they both enjoy it. So you just got to support them when they go for it, you know.
Well, congrats. That's awesome. By the way, today our show will go until around 4:15. Vanderbilt baseball will take over at that point. They've switched around a couple of start times. We're going to deal with this a little bit again tomorrow with this blizzard of the century that may be coming. By the way, notice how early they put that out there?
Oh, gosh, unbelievable.
That
They'll shut things down for a week.
That says they think they know something.
I told y'all the other day, don't get ready for spring because it's not here yet. And now we're going to have some more snow, which is ridiculous to me. I can't stand it. I lived in it. I'm done with it. If I never saw it again, I'd be fine.
Although I do think, Kelly, once we get through with this week, that, it can get it's going to get a lot better. We are now, by the way, under a winter storm warning, which is different. And here's what they're saying. Heavy snow expected, total snow accumulations between 3 and 4 inches for a portion of Middle Tennessee beginning tomorrow night around 9 o'clock. It also says action recommended. Make preparations per the description. Ooh, okay.
Well, there's no eggs in store already, so now people will buy all the eggs, and now the bread will be gone, and the milk as well. So,
Yeah.
wow.
The fact that they upgraded it to a warning is no big surprise.
No, it is not.
Okay. Billy, how was your weekend?
It was good. I don't know why do people in Nashville act like it's the freaking apocalypse every time?
It's everywhere in the state, Billy.
But it's never as bad as the people prepare for it to be.
So when we got 8 inches a year ago, it wasn't nearly as bad.
I mean, that was a historic snowfall.
Okay. Well,
even the last one we got, I went to the store the night before and there was nothing.
Well, now there is a little bit of grocery store freak out, and it's possible that they pay off the weather people. Make it a little worse.
They're the ones paying them off.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, you'll do that for us. We'll throw in some donut holes.
Well, I watched a lot of college basketball. That's where we'll start for the update. It's brought to you by Lori Barnette Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. The basketball I watched was not the NBA All-Star game last night. That was I tried.
I don't think anybody watched it.
I mean, they had a new format. They were it was a tournament, and they went to 40 points, and they had Kevin Hart on my TV screen every 5 seconds. So was not real interested in that, but I did watch Auburn, Alabama. Auburn takes down the Tide in Tuscaloosa. That keeps Auburn at number 1 for the 6th straight week. And, I mean, that was pretty dominant. And all of a sudden, Auburn is on track for the 1 seed. They're still atop the SEC. The 2 teams that beat Auburn sit right behind them in the polls. Florida at 2, Duke at 3. Alabama fell to number 4, followed by Houston, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. Memphis lost yesterday at Wichita State. They fell back 8 spots to number 22 after that overtime loss. They snapped an 8-game winning streak. And the thing about Memphis, every loss in that conference dings them a little bit.
Yeah, because the conference sucks. So back on the Auburn thing, Kelly, until somebody gives us some reason not to think so, Auburn's your number 1 team in the country.
They're really good, man.
Yeah, they go to Alabama, and the truth of it is, for most of the game, with the exception of the run that Alabama made with about 8 minutes left, it never felt like Auburn wasn't the better team. Now, Alabama didn't play all that bad.
Yeah.
Well, they did not, but they started they started the game off and they got a 9-0 deficit, but they brought it back. They ended up tying the game, but it seemed like every time that Auburn needed to make a shot, they made that shot. Like, if they shoot like they shot the other day, if they can keep that up, that's hard. I mean, that's hard to beat. Plus, they're just scrappers. Like, Bruce Pearl's got a bunch of scrappers. Like, Janai Broome, I think he got a little banged up the other day in the game. But, like, they're all competitive guys, and they don't want to lose, and they're not scared. Like, I just watch them. They're not scared to take shots. I think that's what's cool about it, and they make them. And if they don't, they just shrug it off, and they're going to keep shooting. Now, you don't want to have those nights where, hey, you're not making anything, and that's what you rely on. But I think that's where Janai Broome comes in, because I think he's kind of a presence down low, and he can make things happen himself. So watching him, it's really fun. I think they're really good.
There are not a lot of teams that'll win at Bama. And Auburn has now done that. They've got about 60 quad 1 wins. It's absurd how many they've got.
They are so deep. And the SEC obviously is very deep as well. Tennessee took down Vandy. Vandy was up 16 in the first half. I know we'll get into that with Taylor Barnette, but Vandy takes a loss. They will play at Kentucky on Wednesday night in a big game for them. Down the totem pole in the SEC, though, LSU, obviously struggling this year. They did beat Oklahoma in a wild finish on Saturday, but they just announced that they will be sticking with head coach Matt McMahon for next season. They plan to increase his NIL budget after being one of the lowest spenders in the SEC this season. My question is, why were you one of the lowest spenders in the SEC in year 3 of your head coach?
I don't know how to answer that without knowing I don't know, maybe a little more specifics of the whole deal. It's certainly not because LSU lacks for money. LSU puts about $100,000 a game into their football stadium, and they're not, it's not like they're charging $8 a ticket.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're in that position.
There's not a ton of momentum with Matt McMahon right now.
No, and it seems to me that he's going to have to start out next year kind of on fire.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed, and this is pretty obvious when you have one SEC win, they have no home court advantage anymore.
No.
And that used to be a big home court at the Maravich Assembly Center.
Well, another
Billy, when you talk about, and I'm sorry to ask this question, but like when you talk about NIL money for basketball, I know that football's budget, we talked about Ohio State, $30 million, but how much is a good NIL budget for big-time college basketball? Do we know that?
Well, Will Purdue, when we had him on, he brought up how
he said something, yeah,
$5 million around that range. I'm sure there's some teams with higher budgets than that, but $5 million would probably be a good elite level, I would guess, for in college basketball.
Now, look, this is going back, way back. But when I was in school, LSU had Rudy Macklin from Lexington, Kentucky. They had Dwayne Scales. They were a Final Four team. The year that President Reagan was shot, LSU was on the court playing the consolation game, not knowing whether the final would be held or not between Indiana and North Carolina. You can get to national title status at LSU. They've done it twice. The other was with Big Baby Glenn Davis. They can do it.
Will Wade
twice. I think they've been 3 times. When I was in school, then in '86 with Ricky Blanton, and then Big Baby Davis. I think they've been to the Final Four 3 different times.
Well, another school that used to be a lot better in the past is Notre Dame. They lost to Louisville yesterday, 75-60 at home. And after the game, Notre Dame head coach Micah Shrewsbury got emotional, reportedly defending his team and saying the Irish would turn things around next season. Take a listen to this.
We're going to get this thing rolling. I sat there and watched more Louisville fans in here than Notre Dame people. And that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for me because I'm the head coach here. And yes, I got us in this predicament. But don't come back when we're losing or when we're winning because we're turning this around, man. You better believe that. Everybody that gave up on me, believe it. Write this date down and believe it because we're going to get this thing rolling. Don't care if you gave up on me or not.
Wow.
By the way, he slammed the microphone for those not watching.
Pretty tried for a mic drop.
It was a physical mic drop.
So here's the problem with all that. If you really look through Notre Dame's background, only when Digger Phelps was there have they really been on a national scale.
Mike Bray had some pretty good teams.
Yeah, but they were never. I mean, what was Bray's best deal? He got them to
Sweet 16, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame has never really been a big basketball power.
And they deep down, they probably don't really care.
I don't know whether they do or not.
I mean, that's one of the schools that puts a lot of their eggs, if not all, into football.
Yeah. But he can get all pissy all he wants. I mean, who is he to tell the fans, when we get better, don't come back? Well,
right.
Screw you. Do you pay for your ticket to watch that crap? Because I watched enough of it last night. They're not very good.
No. So,
I mean, he can get all pissy he wants, but telling the fans, don't come back when we get good.
That's,
my reaction is kiss my butt.
All right, I won't.
That's just desperation, man. You believe him when he says that? Does he give you any sense of belief that that's going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the question was that set him off.
The reporter said, hey, you're at 10-10, basically just stated their record and said, what's been going wrong, I think was the question. These coaches,
There were a lot of empty seats last night, and he was right about one thing. Louisville had a bunch of people there because I guess from Louisville, I don't know the exact distance.
That's not that bad of a drive.
No, but apparently the weather sucked too. I was listening to Louisville's broadcast on the way home, and Paul Rogers got into, every time we come here, the weather stinks.
Well, every time Michaela Blakes for Vanderbilt steps on the floor, feels like she's in danger of dropping 50 on the other team. She had 55 yesterday in an overtime win at Auburn, the new Division I scoring record for a freshman. She broke her own record that she set about a month ago at Florida. And listen to this. With 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Vandy was losing 74-61. She was at 25 points. So it looked like Vanderbilt was going to lose. They were going to go down to a bad Auburn team. But in the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter and overtime, 11 minutes of game time, she had 30 points. She went 6 of 7 from the floor, 17 of 18 from the free throw line, and just willed the team to victory. She got fouled on a 3 with a second left and swished all 3 free throws to put the game to overtime. And the last NBA, WNBA, or D1 men's or women's player to score 55-plus points while playing every second of the game was LeBron James.
So what does the while playing every second of the game matter?
Well, she never came out, and usually you see if somebody drops 55, you would assume they come out of the game at some point. But
she's physically fit, Billy. Hey, I've seen that little girl. I've seen that little girl up close and personal. She can score it. She can shoot it. She's really good. I was amazed that day we went over there that she was a freshman and to score 55 points. Come on now.
To go with what was it, 52 earlier?
53 at 53. Florida. Yeah.
So did they know this when they got her?
No, they knew she was really good. I think she could have gone anywhere basically.
Wow.
But now a lot of the talk is she won't be at Vanderbilt next year. I'm not really buying that, but every time, that's kind of the first thing you think of, all the portal money she might be offered. But how about this Saturday night in hockey? It took less than 9 seconds for Team USA to record 3 fights at the beginning of the game in its 3-1 win over Canada in the Four Nations face-off in Montreal. It was the first best-on-best tournament game between the nations since 2016. The brothers, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk, were the instigators, to no surprise, of the fight. And after the game, Matthew Tkachuk said, "We needed to send a message. We're here in Montreal on a Saturday night. We want it to be our time." And that message started right from the get-go. And, of course, it was also instigated by the Montreal crowd booing the U.S. national anthem. So, that was appointment TV Saturday night.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that during the next segment. The TV ratings, the whole bit.
Well, we've got, obviously, William Byron took home the Daytona 500 yesterday after a couple of weather delays that totaled more than 3.5 hours. And he wins back-to-back. First back-to-back winner since Denny Hamlin in 2020. So he had to avoid some wrecks down the stretch there that knocked out some of the contenders. So Byron takes home the Daytona 500. And we've got a college story that's probably for another segment. But this just in, the SEC and the Big Ten want to expand the playoff to 14 or 16. Not that, I don't know why this is news to anybody, but sources say, I think everybody knows that. So
the arrogance.
Greg Sankey says. Steph Curry led his team to the All-Star Game title last night, and he wins the MVP. I don't think many people care, though.
No, if you had your choice between the 50 years of Saturday Night Live and that NBA All-Star Game,
SNL.
Yeah.
Also, an MLB note, Mike Trout is going to move from center field to right field this year to preserve his body and keep him healthy. He's struggled to stay healthy the last few years, so that's what we got.
Okay.
Kelly, did you see the Saturday Night Live deal?
I did not, man. I did not see it, man. I wished I would have because I saw some of the commercials because growing up, you watch that stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
Back in the day, I hadn't seen it here lately, but back in the day, that stuff was hilarious.
The best was Weekend Update.
Weekend Update was a good one.
That stuff
And then
hilarious.
Christopher Walken with more cowbell. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so much for that. After the break, there was another product out there that got watched a lot this weekend. USA versus Canada, Saturday night on ABC. We'll talk about it next on 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, so here are some of the numbers from Saturday night, United States versus Canada in this four-nation face-off deal. It averaged 4.4 million viewers, which should not be a surprise because even in our country, the Finland-Sweden game, you got that? Sweden drew over 1 million. Anyway, 4.4 million was the average. The viewership peaked at 5.2 million in the final 15 minutes of the game. So I wanted to know a little more about what does that really mean? So here's what I've come up with. This was the most watched non-Stanley Cup final hockey telecast since a Columbus-Boston playoff game on NBC in 2019 that averaged 4.5 million. The thing went on to say Saturday's game was the most watched NHL game in the United States since Game 7 of the Florida Panthers Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup final last season, which drew 7.67 million. Now, Kelly, part of the reason I bring this up, when the Predators first came to town, hockey TV ratings, you could put a test pattern on and you'd do better.
Yeah. I can't think. I wouldn't think that coming down here and starting a franchise where hockey is not like hockey's not it wasn't a Southern thing, and coming here, I couldn't imagine people thinking anything about it. And then, wow, it's kind of crazy. Those numbers are crazy, George. Because if I will say this: when I was playing in Buffalo for the Bills, I went to a couple of Sabres games. And I enjoy watching it. I don't enjoy watching it on the TV. It's better. It's better for me than watching NBA basketball on TV. There's no doubt. But like hockey, I love going to watch at the game because it's so fast and it's physical. People like the game. They don't. It's not like football where we huddle and those guys are moving all the time. And you got to be in such great shape. That's why they have all those line shifts, and it's kind of fascinating. But those numbers are pretty big. That's a pretty cool deal.
So here are a couple of other notes to try to compare. The 2016 World Cup of Hockey game between the United States and Canada did 766,000 total viewers.
Wow.
So clearly, now, reasons for it. Here's one that you could throw out there. Weather around the country over the weekend, in particular from the southeast where there was a lot of tornado and severe thunderstorm stuff, all the way up the East Coast where hockey's going to do its biggest numbers. The weather was really bad. A lot of stay-in factor, not out carousing around the town. Here's a thought. Thursday night will be the title game, and the United States will be in the title game. They have already clinched it. Canada will clinch a berth in the final if it defeats Finland in regulation on Monday, or if it defeats Finland in overtime or in a shootout.
And they actually did. So it's
over.
Yeah. So Canada, U.S. in the final.
So on a Thursday night, does that beat what they did on Saturday? Got no idea. My gut feeling is yes, it does.
Yeah. What other sport is able to pit two nations against each other in a mid-season tournament like this? That's the thing.
Wild.
That's the thing that separates it, and that's what made it so wild was U.S. versus Canada. The first time they played each other in a best-on-best game since 2016. You can't do that in the NBA. I mean, I guess you could against international players, but I mean, it's not the same with U.S. and Canada. That built-in rivalry in the league, I think that's what makes it, such a poignant viewing.
By the way, the title game, and this is an X factor for ratings. The X factor is that the championship game will be on ESPN, not ABC. How much difference is there? I don't know. I'm not sure it's going to matter.
Yeah, that'll be
a little pissy game right there because Canada thinks they're it when it comes to hockey, and I'm sure that really upset them the other day when the U.S. team. Why did they pick these four nations? Like, why?
I don't know.
Is it where most of the players are from?
Yeah, that's if you look at it, it's Canada, Sweden, Finland, right?
Finland.
Yeah.
Sweden. They've also what they've done, Kelly, they've already announced that they're going to do this again in 2028 with 8 nations.
8 nations. So what do they know what the other 4 nations are going to be?
They probably do. I don't have it in front of me. But here's the thing that to me was really interesting, and I brought this up on Friday. The line, this just in, if you want to bet on this, you can. The line was already out for Saturday's United States-Canada game, and it was a dead pick'em, which says that the people that do this kind of crap for a living had recognized that the United States apparently has closed the gap considerably.
Yeah. Has closed or has caught the Canadians, which I'm sure that's a bone of contention with the guys up north.
I mean, this has to be the Canadians' worst nightmare for them to. I mean, because hockey is their sport.
Is the championship game just one game? Is it, or is it a? It's not a double elimination deal. It's just one game, right?
and it's I believe it's in Boston.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Where is this thing started? Where did they hold all these matches?
Montreal.
Oh, did they? Montreal.
Or as they say it, Montreal.
Montreal.
It was in Montreal, and apparently it moves to Boston. So tonight, the U.S. plays in a pretty much meaningless game against Sweden.
Yeah.
And that will be at the Fleet Center in Boston, where the Celtics also
So the U.S.
play.
could lose tonight, but it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
And so I'm trying to find what.
See, why do you play that game? Why do you play that game? Because if you're a coach or if you're a manager, you're just scared to death of trying to keep everybody healthy because you got to play. I mean, hockey's a deal where people have to play. You have those line shifts and you only got so many guys. So you just worry to death about injuries on a game that doesn't even matter.
So, Kelly, here might be the point of whatever it is I'm babbling about here. So here we sit at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. And to my left is an NHL regulation size rink. To my right is a second, rink that's NHL regulation size. And you think back to 20, 25 years ago, this kind of stuff wasn't happening. No. Every weekend when they get to like Thursday and Friday, there are all these tournaments here, and there are all these kids that, they've grown up with this. We got this in our 30s or our 40s, or let's not go any farther. These kids have started out with this stuff. And so, there were a group of 12-year-olds in here on Friday, and they really had some skill level. Yep. And I'm like, you know what? That kind of stuff is starting to take hold.
It is. It's kind of like soccer. It's starting to take hold. And I'll tell you another place, too, is my wife and myself went up to Austin Peay the other day, and they're playing in that new sports complex that's got a Fordyce Center in it as well. That thing was full. They were having a tournament up there that day in Clarksville. So it's kind of amazing about what's going on just with hockey. And my son played with a young man that played baseball, but him and his brothers would go down to Nashville when they weren't playing baseball, and they would play hockey. And I asked him one day, I was like, which one do you like better? He said, oh, hockey, way better. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a kid down here in the South that's grown up around baseball, that's grown up around football, and he loves hockey. Man, I would think that if you got in it and if you were competitive and you could skate really well, I think that would be one of the sports. Like it's rough like football, man, but it's just to watch those guys skate and turn around and go backwards like they do. You got to be athletic to do that, and it's kind of amazing to watch.
Well, and the way it's grown in Florida too. I mean, they love with the Panthers winning their cup. They love it, and Tampa also. But this made me think that this replaces their All-Star game. This is like All-Star weekend basically for the NHL, and they turned it into an appointment television match between USA and Canada.
And
While-
they needed to, because the
Yeah.
All-Star game had just become a big 8-6, 12-10 stuff that doesn't happen.
And
Unfortunately, a little bit like the NBA All-Star game.
well, and credit
Yeah.
Gary Bettman, Adam Silver has fallen asleep at the wheel. What are they doing with the All-Star game?
Hoping.
I mean, it's not even close to the hockey entertainment value.
Billy,
Well-
what were the ratings on the NBA stuff? Because like their ratings are like 53% down this year, and the NBA is starting to worry. But I just wonder what the All-Star weekend, because I'm not watching that stuff. Like that every sport, just like hockey right now, they're doing the Four Nations stuff. Every sport has a problem because nobody wants to watch the All-Star stuff. They really don't. I mean, baseball is probably the one that you could get by with because you still have to go through it, still have to pitch and hit and do all that. But I just like all these All-Star games, like they're going to start losing people and nobody's going to watch.
Well, none of the players hate it. All the players, James Harden said it's a little weird. Anthony Edwards said, if I'm telling you the truth, no, I didn't like it.
So my guess is that they copycat and they go to a format like this,
Yep.
where the U.S. has got a team,
But what country do you just go straight international
I don't
against?
know. I mean, I'd have to go look at where most of the big time international players.
Yeah. That'd be
For
better than what
instance-
they're doing now.
Yeah. What you do is what's Luka's country?
Is it Serbia?
Oh, where is he from?
So what
It's
you
not from Serbia.
do is you have Luka's team, Slovenia, and you put that game in Dallas.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd have to be the Americans against the foreigners, I would think. Would y'all?
Yeah, that's
In some form or fashion, yeah.
In some way, yeah. That's probably what everybody's got. Like these also it's unwatchable to me. The worst is the NFL is my sport. That is absolutely awful. Like, just go ahead and say, hey, you're on the Pro Bowl. Go on about your business. We're not going to do anything. But like, people are still watching that stuff, which is beyond me.
Yeah.
well, there was a bad crowd. I think now you're seeing some more empty seats too in these All-Star games in the NBA.
The one that still has a little something is baseball, and it has
does.
lost a lot from what it was 25, 30 years ago. Anyway, enough of that. The United States in the title game on Thursday night against against Canada.
Yep.
And what kind of number will it get that night on ESPN compared to what it got Saturday night on ABC? After the break, the latest on the Indiana coaching search. Yeah, there's some new stuff. And look, this was easy to predict. Stick around.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Over the weekend, got out on Twitter, or X, as it's now called, that Curt Cignetti, the Indiana football coach, who for now is wildly popular up there because he got Indiana into the unthinkable in the first year, the college football playoff. The report says that Cignetti has been lobbying the AD, saying you need to hire Mark Byington, who's at Vandy. Cignetti and Byington were both at JMU. Cignetti obviously going to Bloomington, Indiana, and Byington coming to Nashville to coach the Commodores. So Cignetti denies the rumor. I could care less. You know damn good and well at some point, if there's been an opening to do it, that Cignetti has said, by the way, the guy that coached where I was is really good. You need to think about him. So, Kelly, while Cignetti tried to shoot it down, I've been around the block a few times. So what? I mean, what else was he going to say?
Right. Which sometimes coaches on college campuses are okay with each other and good with each other and friends with each other. Sometimes they're not. But obviously, these two guys have had a history together. And, you know, Cignetti, I said a lot a couple of years ago, like he did a great job at JMU. He's unbelievable. And then what he did at Indiana. So I don't know. But let me ask you this, though, is like if you're Mark Byington, you've got to think about, like, Indiana's not the program that it used to be, and you've already put your stamp of approval here on Vanderbilt. You've done such a good job already in the first year, and you didn't even have a team before the season started. So I guess it just comes down to money. Is that all it is, George? Just comes down to how much, like, if this would happen or if this did happen. Like, we know Indiana's won national championships, but are they at that level? And I guess if you're a coach nowadays, you have to look at how much money am I getting and how much money do I have allotted to me when it comes to NIL.
So, okay, let's try a couple of those questions.
Yeah.
Number one, obviously, if you get contacted and you have any amount of interest, you're saying to the athletic director, tell me about your NIL plan. What's out there? What's realistic? And then secondly, I think you have to kind of use your basketball IQ to say, okay, Indiana won 3 national titles under Bobby Knight. But once Knight left, Mike Davis took over. And now in this 20-plus year gap, what is Indiana? And that's left to the interpretation of people. You know, what do people really think about it? I happen to believe that if you get the right guy in there, that you can get Indiana basketball back to a very high level. Show a couple of those pictures, Billy, of Assembly Hall. Now, I'll admit, I'm infatuated by this place. I've never been there. Shame on me, but I have never gotten to do a game there. And I've never had the ability to just drop into Bloomington and say, I want to see this place. But Kelly, I know that it's a Kentucky kind of fan base, and they are dying to win. And my belief is that if you get the right guy, you can get Indiana back quick.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. I just think about, and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I just remember you showed pictures of Bobby Knight. I remember the Bobby Knight day. I remember the Keith Smart shot that was hit. I remember, them winning all those national championships back in the day, and him having Isaiah Thomas, all the great players that he had, and it's just kind of sad to see where, like, Indiana hasn't been relevant since that guy's been gone, since Bobby Knight's been gone. They've tried, and you have to, like, there's still, we've got pictures on the podcast, but like you've got this thing seated, like people are to the roof watching the Indiana Hoosiers. They love basketball in the state of Indiana. I can remember being an Indianapolis Colt, love the Pacers. They absolutely love the Pacers. That's when the Dutchman Rick Smits was there. Boy, he was a big dude, but like they had the Davis guys. I mean, they were really good. Reggie Miller, Mark Jackson, all those guys, but it means a lot in the state of Indiana. And I think you're right, George. I think it would be the right guy. And I don't know how this is going to go. And this is just rumor stuff, but maybe Mark Byington is that guy. Who knows? And if they're willing to pay him the money and they're willing to step up their NIL game to get kids in there, I think you're right, because those fans are passionate about the game of basketball.
There's nothing against Mark Byington, but wouldn't Indiana set their sights a little bit higher? At least initially, maybe, like, to me, Mark Byington would be more of a third, fourth, fifth guy. Whereas, you shoot your shot for, obviously Brad Stevens isn't going there, but you shoot your shot for Chris Beard or maybe a sitting power 4 head coach.
Or Dusty May.
Yeah, or Dusty May.
Those feel like the first two. But again, I don't know the athletic director at Indiana, so I have no idea what thought process he may have in trying to fill this position. Here's a couple of things to consider if you're Byington. There is no question Byington has coached his rear end off.
Yeah.
And yet, at the moment, as good a job as he's done, they are under 500 in the league. They are right now as bubble can get. Does that frustrate him? I don't know. Because up till now, he really hasn't had to talk about it. But in the back of his mind has to be, man, this SEC thing's a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't any nights off. There was a point where it looked like the final 3 games of Vanderbilt's season would ease it tremendously. But here's the problem. Missouri is way better than any of us thought. Arkansas has improved. To what level? It's hard to tell. And you go to Georgia at the end, and, you know, Kelly, there's nothing easy about it.
No, there's not. And this is a question. I'm going to ask y'all another question. If you're a coach, obviously you want to coach and you want to have a competitive team. But, like, do you think sometimes, like, the Big Ten's not like the Big Ten used to be, in my opinion. It's changed. And the shift of it, like, I'm not used to hearing Dan Shulman and Jay Billups doing all these SEC games. Are y'all? I mean, they're normally in ACC country. I mean, that's where they've been the whole time. I mean, I know it's an ESPN deal. I get that. I totally understand that they've changed. But, like, I'm just not used to hearing that. But, like, the powers have shifted. Used to kind of be the ACC Big Ten. Now it's the SEC. And the SEC is really hard. So if you do have an opportunity, Mark Byington, I know you're weighing all those options, but are you saying maybe – if I can do what I do in Indiana and I can get all these kids and I can get some NIL, it's not as tough as the SEC. Is that more intriguing to you?
Well, this is going to be a test. I mean, this is a huge next 2-3 months for the Vanderbilt basketball program. Number one, do they get into the tournament? And does that change? Is Indiana sitting here saying, well, if he makes the tournament, we'll reach out. Maybe they're not. But if you're Candace Lee and Vanderbilt, you're gonna have rubber's gonna meet the road here. I mean, you're gonna have a huge decision to make, and it's an obvious one, right? Pay up. I mean, he's nowhere near the top in terms of SEC coaches' salaries. So, I mean, it's gonna come down to the wire.
Yeah.
So, and Kelly, to me, that's the other piece of this. How proactive is Vanderbilt right now? I don't know. I suspect in the next couple of weeks, some stuff will start to get out as to what level of proactive they are. She's made clearly a brilliant hire in Byington.
Yeah.
But if she loses him a year in, she's going to catch it. Because people are going to say, did you do everything you could do proactively? And by proactively, I guess we're saying walk in one day and say, hey, I'm not stupid. I read this stuff. Where's your head? What can we do to make it more difficult for you to want to go?
Right.
During the season, I don't know how ADs feel about doing that with coaches.
Yeah, that'd be a tough thing too. I wouldn't know if you could do that, but if you start hearing things and you start knowing from some credible sources that that's going on, I think you probably have to step in and say, hey, I understand what's going on. I don't want to do this right now because I know you're trying to win games, but, like, we need to talk, and I need to know where you're, just like you said, I need to know where you're at. If she hears it from a lot of people and a lot of people she trusts and credible sources, then that's when you have to be proactive as an AD and go in and talk to them whether you like it or not.
Okay, after the break, we'll go stat of the day. Taylor Barnette will join us. It'll be a little quicker than normal because we'll be out at 4:12 today. And happy President's Day to all of you on 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. we're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
That's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client in every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
This is Joe and Q.
I don't know your age, Q. You're a very young-looking man. I actually probably should know your age. I mean, we're working together here. 48. 48. You look 20 years younger than that. So congratulations to you and the fantastic genetics. Yes, and black does not crack from what I've been informed of.
Joe says that a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's my big thing. I'm always walking around the offices saying that. Kind of what I'm known for.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Joe and Q. Weekdays from noon to 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
This is Jerome from Birmingham, previously from Paul Feinbaum Show.
I was talking to a friend of mine today, Braxton, who's in SEC circles. He said, listen, never been better in basketball, which we understand. He said baseball is even better than basketball. How many? 4 of the top 5 were in the AP poll are from the SEC. Baseball is better.
The Paul Feinbaum Show. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC network.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Talking college basketball. Taylor Barnette coming up with first stat of the day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, we're going a little college hoops here. On Saturday, Vandy was up by 16 against Tennessee at one point in the first half. If they would have won, it would have been their first sweep of the Vols in a regular season since when?
Kelly, the answer is 2007.
Hey, that's way better than what I thought. I had no clue. 2007. Let's do it.
Put it on the board.
It's actually 2016. I did.
George, every time you and I are really confident about the answer, it never works out.
We just get it shoved up our you-know-what.
Did you see that on the broadcast, on the TV broadcast? Because I thought I saw 07 too, but that was a mistake.
Wow. Well, then let's blame it on the telecast. I mean,
blame it on whoever was calling the game.
Yeah. So let's get to Taylor Barnette a little quicker than normal because, as I mentioned earlier, we've got to be out by 4:12. So let's bring him up there. Taylor, how you doing?
George, what's going on? I'm doing great. How are you, man?
Good. I want to get some of your thoughts on the Tennessee Vanderbilt game Saturday. And I came away and I want you to help me where you think I'm right or where you think I'm wrong. There is no question the gap between these two teams has dwindled considerably from the Stackhouse era, where Tennessee could just name their score, to now. These last two games have been really, really good, very chippy, played like a rivalry, which is what I like seeing. I came away Saturday saying, okay, so Vandy can play a 2 seed on the road to within that level. What's left to close the gap? And I came away believing that Vandy is one player who can put the ball on the floor and rise up and hit a 15-footer away from Tennessee. You buy that or not buy that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have that in Jason Edwards. I mean, he played a heck of an offensive game. But I don't necessarily disagree with you that it would be nice to have somebody else who can create their own shot and go get you a bucket. I think he was doing so much on offense, it cost him on the defensive end a little bit. But I think they should be getting that out of AJ Hoggard a little bit more than maybe they are. He's such a physical, experienced, tough guard. Getting him downhill a little bit more often might be able to free him up a little bit. But I'm really impressed with Vanderbilt. They played a heck of a game on Saturday. I watched that whole game. Was really impressed. What were they up 14 at one point?
16.
They played 16. They played really hard. They played together. Jason Edwards had an unbelievable individual performance. And then, you look at that guy right there, Zakai Ziegler. He just took over the game. Rick Barnes has to feel so comfortable having him as his point guard.
So Tennessee shot 72% in the second half, and yet we've all sort of given it this, well, that they're not a good enough shooting team. Taylor, is it going to be like this for them the rest of the year, where on nights where they flip that shooting switch, they're as good as just about anybody, and on the nights that they don't, they drop a fairly considerable amount?
Yeah, I think it is going to be, for the rest of the year, just a little bit of inconsistency. But a lot of teams, their defense is driven by how they're playing offense. I think Tennessee is the opposite. I think Vanderbilt was getting whatever they wanted in the first half, and were hitting everything. And I think that it caused Tennessee to lose a little bit of confidence. They came out in the second half, and they were guarding. They were getting stops. And I think it fueled their offense. I think they gain confidence as a team when they're doing what they do best, and that's getting stops on the defensive end. It's the reason they're the number one defensive team in the country, and I think that fuels them.
I went into Saturday believing Alabama would win for one reason and one reason only, because they were at home in Tuscaloosa. But to be honest, for me, other than the run that Alabama made to tie the game with about 8-9 minutes left in the game, I felt like Auburn was in command the whole time. And Taylor, I've come to the conclusion this is Auburn's national title to either win or lose.
Yeah, that way they started off the game 9-0, hitting 3 threes, and now that was impressive. It was a hard hole for Alabama to dig out of to start the game. I agree with you. I do think Auburn is the best team in the SEC and the best team in the country. I think they're complete. I don't think they lack anything. They're deep. They play hard. They play together. Janai Broom's a force on the inside, and he's hitting step back threes too. He makes them just so good in a lot of different ways. I agree. I think if they're playing their best, that they could easily win the national championship.
Kelly, give Taylor a couple 3 questions.
Yes, sir. I'll do whatever.
Do your best.
Hey, Tennessee the other night, they get down 16 to Vanderbilt, who's already beat them. You talked about confidence going in the locker room, but I've always said that a team kind of takes on the mentality of their coach. Mm-hmm. And Rick Barnes seems like a grinder all the time, and it seems like that's what they turned into the other day. They started hitting some shots, and then they started that's how the stuff goes. But there's a lot of teams that couldn't do that. Taylor, you know that. Come down like they've already been beaten once. They're hitting everything. Sometimes guys just give up. Now I know they still had another half to play, but just give me a little bit about the Rick Barnes effect, because that seems like what this team is. They're the personality of their coach.
Yeah, I think Zakai Ziegler said in the post game conference that Rick Barnes had some words for him at halftime, and he alluded to the fact that that I don't think that a lot of people respect you guys and as a team, and you say you're not good enough, or you can't shoot, you can't make shots, and I'm sure he got on to him about the defensive end. I think Rick Barnes is gritty. I think he wins games on the defensive end. Clearly, he has at Tennessee. And he gets guys to play hard. He's not afraid to hold guys accountable on that end of the floor. And so I do think you're right. They take on his character of kind of just being tough, being gritty, and digging in. And I also think that, they go as Zakai Ziegler goes. What a great leader. What a great player too. I mean, he makes everybody better. And he got going in the second half and got everybody else going too.
So talking about Zakai Ziegler, in basketball, it's all about size. It's all about height. This guy's like 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
And is there many chances? Like, I don't think like that's why I love Rick Barnes, because I don't think he cares the stature of anybody. I just think he cares about the desire and the heart of a kid. And you saw a couple of weeks ago, he didn't make the shot, but who he trusted at the end of the game. They've got the Lanier kid that's come, from North Florida. That's, kind of their shooter. But at the end of the game, when they were at Auburn and they were trying to win the game, they gave it to Zakai Ziegler. So I'm just wondering, like, if he's with anybody else, is he doing this? I mean, I know there's smaller guys all around the country. I get it, but like, he's just not very big, but he means so much to this team. And I think if it's not with Rick Barnes, like he's not going to get that with John Calipari. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I think as a guy, like a Muggsy Bogues type player that's little, you have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And then a coach will give you a chance, but it seems like when you're that size, they're always saying, well, I told you couldn't play. He's too little. But with that, I think Rick Barnes doesn't care. He just wants the best guy.
Yeah. Well, I think what separates Ziegler is he's tough and he's competitive. He's also like really skilled. I mean, he can really shoot. He can really pass. I mean, he can really handle the ball. Like he's a good enough player to play anywhere. But I think what separates him is that he's tough and he's competitive. And he has a desire to win. He has a desire for his team to win. I think that's the difference. Is you can tell that when he's on the floor, like he wants all of his guys to win individually. He wants to get them involved. I think the broadcaster said that, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And he's a perfect example of that. He wants his teammates to win. And because of that, they're winning. And he makes them go.
So this is my last deal. So the other night, watching that game between Alabama and Auburn, it's fun to watch. Like it's amazing that it's in the state of Alabama, because you've never, at first time 1 and 2s have gotten together, and you don't think about that as a powerhouse basketball. But like watching Auburn play basketball, Bruce Pearl's kind of that way. You talk about a personality of a team. Like those guys are competitive, and I just said it earlier in the show. It's amazing how each and every one of those guys is not afraid to take the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other night that Alabama got close, every time somebody would come down and shoot the shot. Now, if they're missing, hey, they're going to keep shooting it. Yep. And it's just amazing how they have the confidence right now of shooting the ball, not scared to take the shot and not scared of the moment. And then they got the big guy in Janai Broome. But just how competitive are those guys? Because I love watching the fast. They've got the Baker Mazzara guy that's kind of a do-everything type of guy who can score, who can play really good defense. They get after you defensively. It's a fun team to watch.
Yeah, it really is. I would say both of those teams, there's a high level of freedom that those guys get to play with, but there's also a high level of accountability on the defensive end. I think there's definitely a strategy of, hey, you give it all you got on the defensive end for our team. I'll let you shoot maybe some wild shots and give you a little bit of a longer leash in terms of your offense. And that's exactly what both of those teams do. I mean, they take a lot of early feet set threes or not feet set threes, to be honest. But they play really hard. And I think that if you can get 10 guys to play really hard on the defensive end, I think that builds confidence, and they build off of that as a team, and they go and have confidence on the offensive end. And that's exactly what both those teams look like they do.
Taylor, real quick, I know we got to hit a break here, but Vandy's got Kentucky at Rupp on Wednesday night. Not sure if Lamont Butler and Jackson Robinson will be able to go. They weren't able to go. Cats almost beat Texas, but Texas was desperate, and they got the win. If Lamont Butler and Robinson don't go Wednesday night, I mean, it's hard to pick against Vandy in that because they're pretty different. Now, they're still a good team, Kentucky is without them. But I take my matchups against Perry and Noah if you're Vanderbilt as opposed to Robinson and Butler.
Yeah, for sure. And they beat Tennessee last week without Robinson, and Lamont Butler went down. Unfortunately didn't come back in the game. But I think you would have to think, okay, Mark Pope is upset and is all up in his guys coming off a loss, but also having Vanderbilt come in who they lost to earlier in the season. They're going to be ready to play regardless who's playing. And Rupp Arena is going to be 20,000 strong, and it's going to be loud, and it's going to be a crazy environment. Do I think Vanderbilt can win in that game? Absolutely. I really do. They're playing well. They're hard to guard. I don't know who's going to guard Jason Edwards. I have no idea. That dude gets by anybody. But so I think it is a toss-up. I think it'll be close, but we'll see what happens.
Taylor, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Taylor Barnette, weekly visit. Cut a little short today, but nonetheless, good stuff. Okay, let's end it with Plaster Bet of the Day.
It's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's take a look at what happened over the weekend. Got a win with Missouri, plus 1.5 as they handle I'm forgetting who they beat.
Georgia,
that's right. And then Alabama minus 1.5 obviously didn't work.
So tonight I'm going with Kansas State on the road at Utah. Utah is coming off a huge win over Kansas Saturday, and they blistered Kansas. Do they get back up emotionally 2 nights later? I'm saying they're not. They may prove me wrong. Tony Basilio tomorrow. Likely we start the show by way of podcast and not radio. So make that mental note. See you tomorrow.
See you.